Hey everyone, Kevin with Orsinger Investment Group here with Max Messett, episode 11 of the OIG podcast. This one, we get this question a lot as we work with either new clients that are getting ready to retire, or clients that have been with us for a while that are also hitting that stage of life. And it's the question of how much do I need to retire? How much money is it going to take? What do I need per month? How much do I need to have saved? So Max, if I'm a new client, I'm asking that question. How are we going to answer that?
Yeah. So I think, like you said, this is probably one of the biggest questions we get. And it's usually one of the most general answers that we can give right off the bat. I think everybody always wants that solid number of, hey, if you hit this amount, no matter who you are and what you're doing and what your lifestyle looks like, you're good to retire. And maybe we can throw me 100 million. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. There is numbers out there that are super high. But unfortunately, the answer to this question a lot of times is it depends. And we start off, you know, our always first question back is, well, how much money do you need in a year to live? Right. And that's kind of as we talk about with employment income. And guys, this will always go back to when Kevin talks about being connected to your money. This is how you answer that question of knowing what you need coming in versus what you have going out in a month when we talk about that cash flow. Biggest thing is first to calculate your annual expenses. You have to know how much money you're spending to know what your number is that you need to retire. Again, the end goal with all this is how do we take the money from when you're employed, that employment income, and supplement it now with ideally the answer to this question to know how much money I need coming in on a monthly or annual basis to be able to retire. And so I think step number one is going to be calculate. You got to be able to calculate what you're spending a month, what you're spending in a year, and figure out what that number looks like for monthly coming in.
Yeah, and Max is right. It varies by everybody. Part of it too is what kind of retirement do you want? Is this I just want to stop working
Yeah.
and sit around the house and relax and locally go see grandkids, ball games, and dance recitals? Or is it no, I've always wanted to travel more. I've wanted a second home. All that comes with extra costs and extra expenses. And you had better know those answers before you pull the trigger and decide to end employment and move into retirement. Everyone's going to have Social Security. So the nice thing is there's one fixed income piece coming into the household, or two if you're married. If you're lucky enough to have a pension, those are items that you can kind of write in, with a pen. This is my Social Security is going to be X, my pension is going to be X, and then how do I fill in the gaps? One of the concerns that happens through retirement is what inflation is going to do to the cost of goods and services while you're working. If at 3% inflation, something that costs $100 in your first year of retirement is going to cost $103 in year two, which may not sound like a lot. But if we look, through 20 to 25 years in retirement, that $100 item in year one of retirement, through the rule of 72 calculations that I'm nerd out about math wise, you're looking at that thing at 20 to 25 years of costing you now $200.
Yeah.
And chances are your Social Security payments haven't been adjusted for inflation enough to keep up with that. Chances are your pension hasn't been adjusted for inflation enough. So, as we do calculations for clients, it's not just year one, what do you need, but can we sustain that for 15, 20, 25, 30 years in retirement when you factor in the cost of inflation to that? Again, a year or two of inflation is not that big of a deal, but when you look at 20 to 25 or 30 years, it is going to make a significant difference into your ability to continue to maintain your lifestyle. God forbid we go through something we've gone in the last couple of years where inflation has been 7%, 6%, 5%. And that has a real negative impact as well. Go ahead, Max, you were going to say something.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly one of those things that kind of flies over the radar is the inflation conversation. Everybody thinks, well, this is what I got coming in. And like you said, your Social Security pension stuff. I don't think a lot of folks take into consideration that conversation right there. I mean, I know just in the past year or two, filling up my car has doubled, and I know it's maybe just part of what's going on right now, but when you're on that more of a fixed income side thing in retirement, that makes a big difference when we're looking at a plan for you and that number of how much you have coming in. I mean, the more you have going out on undiscretionary items like gas and groceries and things that you have to have, um, it just it makes that equation a little bit tighter. So that's why I think, like you said, I think that's one that does fly under the radar, and not a lot of people take that in consideration. And then when it happens, it's like I got a lot less money. I don't know what's going on, and that is exactly what's taking place as those years fold. Um, but you kind of hit on already, Kevin, is looking at all those income sources. Again, we don't just bank on one thing or the other. This is when we tie everything together, your Social Security, retirement accounts. Maybe you are fortunate enough to have a pension, maybe a couple of different places that you've rolled over in time and it's been able to grow. So it's not just, that's why we have these conversations about retirement accounts, because that's the important part that they play and does start to fit the puzzle piece of being able to answer this question. Again, you tag it along with your Social Security. A lot of times it's Social Security and retirement income. And it's not a confusing equation. We don't mean to make it sound like it's some big complex. It is, what do you have? What's the monthly income look like? What's the monthly expenses look like? And then really, as Kevin said, depending on your lifestyle, it is a personal preference of, can you make that number work? Do you want that number to work? A lot of times the question is, how bad do you not want to work? Right? I mean, we have clients that come in and it's, I can't do this another day. How can I possibly squeak this by? And then there's others that, hey, I got another 5 years, 10 years that I'm just really thinking about what this looks like picture wise. But yeah, for those that, hey, I'm going to walk in tomorrow and I'm no longer doing this anymore. It's all personal. It all comes down to what you feel, what you want, and how you think you can go about it.
Yeah, for some, retirement is, I just don't want to go to that job anymore. And for others is, I've got ideas and dreams of, stopping my employment and I've got children and grandchildren all over the country and I want to spend my retirement traveling around to see everybody. Or, I've always wanted to go to Florida in the winter for 2 months and the cost associated with that. So again, it is different from everyone. We use, on top of the fixed income sources of Social Security, again, if you're lucky enough to have a pension, we use kind of a rule of thumb to start conversations with clients from your retirement savings of an annual withdrawal amount of about 5% of that. That's a before tax number. So depending, again, if your money's in traditional IRA, Roth IRA, non-IRA, how much of that 5% ends up in your bank accounts is a different figure as well. Again, it's not a hard fast. Can't be a dime more than it. But the goal is, we want to keep your money at least maintaining throughout the early parts of your retirement. If it starts to go down in the latter ends of it, that's not the end of the world. But you don't want to ruin your retirement in the first 5 years because we're trying to meet some unrealistic withdrawal number that's not going to make us able to sustain our account balances. Again, $1 million at retirement does not need to grow to 2 million by the time you are. Right. End of life situations, nor does it need to maintain at $1 million unless you want to make sure you're leaving something behind for children, grandchildren, charities. If you retire with $1 million and, on your deathbed, you have $450,000 left over and you did everything you wanted to do in retirement, I think that's a perfect scenario. You've had an opportunity to have fun and spend money. We still have some left. There is still some to leave behind, again, for next generation, for charities. But ultimately, we enjoyed the money that we worked so hard for and made sacrifices to save. So, Social Security, again, pension, Social Security, and 5% of your retirement savings is kind of the groundwork for that number. And does that fit into your dreams? And if it does, fantastic. And if it doesn't, as Max said, hey, maybe we work 2 or 3 more years. Right. Maybe we ramp up some savings. We get real stingy with spending money for a couple of years. So then at our actual retirement, we have enough money to do the things we want. What else should we be considering, Max? Yeah. So kind of, and I just wanted, there's kind of a rule that floats around out there when you're talking about this retirement number. And we don't talk about it a whole lot on a general basis, because a lot of times when we're looking, we know the number that somebody might have and what that looks like as we kind of
look at their plan. But there's if you were to take your monthly expenses, obviously multiply it by 12, so you're going to get your annual expenses. If you multiply your annual expense number by 25, it puts you in a ballpark that basically is that sustainability number. If you're at that number, your money is going to sustain you through your retirement, especially if we're talking about that 5% withdrawal rate. Again, it's not like, hey, this is what this spit out to me, so don't take this as, stone cold fact. It's a good way to just get a roundabout number. It's going to be a high number. And I'm warning everybody right now, when you do this, you are going to see the number and go, holy smokes. But I think it's a great reality check of where you stand compared to this number that might spit out. So take your annual expenses, multiply it by 25, and just see. And don't use it as a deterrent. I'm not trying to put this, it's just a general rule of thumb that, hey, this is a number, this is a great number. If you can get to this number, this is a great number to be at when you call it quits in retirement. And if you're around that number, I also think it's a great goal to shoot for. And that's kind of what we talk about of being connected to your money as well. I know, Kevin, I say it, I think, a million times per podcast, because I think it's one of the most important things to kind of portray to people. You got to know where you stand now, where you need to get to, and don't go blind eye into retirement. The only way we can answer this question is if you know what you want it to look like for you. When you come in and say, guys, I'm ready to be done, what do I need? And we go, well, what do you think your life? And I go, I don't know, I haven't really thought about it. Yeah. Well, we can't, there's no way you can make any sort of guesstimate. We can't make, throw it into some software that picks who you are and what you want to do. There's none of that. This all comes down to, on an individual basis, what you want retirement to look like, how much you're going to need per month. And with that 5% withdrawal rule, what do you need to be at to be able to take 5% to make it make sense on the retirement conversation? And I know a lot of people, it's a frustrating answer in a way, because it feels like, it is up to you then. It is up to the investor themselves. But that's our job on our side, is to keep you consistent to get you there if that's your goal. And then to also help you reach that goal with the investment side of getting you into the market and allowing that money to work for you to get you to where you need to be able to take that 5% and make it all make sense with your Social Security. And kind of something we talked about in the last podcast is the adjustment of your goals, right? A lot of people have big, not ambitions, but their retirement in their head is, I'm buying a lake house, we're going to buy a beach house, we're probably gonna have 6 houses, a couple boats, all that. And they get to retirement, and we've seen it time and time again of, I'm content with, I go on vacation or 2 a year and see my family. And the biggest thing, I just don't have to go to work. And for some, that's maybe more of a scary thought. For others, it's, hey, this is kind of nice that I get to do whatever I want day in and day out. So not saying don't have goals for retirement. We have seen goals and ideas change once that retirement becomes a reality. And that's okay. That's kind of what I want to portray with this, is that is okay to be flexible. And then also the biggest thing is update your plan on our side as well, is make sure you relay that to us of, hey, I don't think I'm doing what I thought I was going to do, or I want to do a little more. I didn't think I'd want to do more, and I have the opportunity to do a little bit more. So keep who you're working with in the loop, so that way your retirement can kind of just adjust and go with you whatever way you want that to go, if that's possible, right, Kevin? That's kind of the way we break that down.
Fluid's the word that I like there. It's not, you can write down on paper that it's this for Social Security and this for a pension and 5% withdrawals, and this is exactly what it's going to look like every single year for the next 30 years. And the reality of it is that is not the case.
Exactly.
You're probably going to spend more money in the first, we'll say you retire at 65. So the first 10 to 12 years of retirement, you're going to spend more money on fun things. You're probably going to be able to travel a little bit more. You're going to want to go out a little bit more with friends. And then everybody gets to a stage in life, and it varies age-wise, where, man, the idea of schlepping to the airport and getting on a flight and getting through all the TSA stuff, that at 65, you're like, this is awesome. I love the fact we get to do this. And then at 78, it's like, I just don't have the energy for this anymore. And then maybe your attention for spending goes to other things at that stage. Maybe it is time to spoil grandkids a little bit more, or start to work on some early estate planning stuff. But yeah, it is, everything we work on is rule of thumbs, and Max brings up a perfect point that, at least on an annualized basis, you should be sitting down with your financial advisor and taking a look at we took out 5% last year, and as it turns out, that's way more than I need.
Yeah.
So is it wise to continue to take it out? Do we take out less? Do I take it out and gift it? Whatever the solutions are. But we're not naive enough to think that the plan that gets put in place for year one of retirement is going to be the exact right plan for every single year that you're in there. It's good to have an idea going in what it looks like. And then it's our job as the advisors to make sure as plans change and goals change and things like that, that we're able to make those changes with you or advise you against, that may not be the best idea for you long term.
Yep.
Still your money, still your decision ultimately. But if we spend money this year on this, it could negatively impact us in 10 years.
Yep.
And if you say I could care less, Kevin, I want to do that now, fantastic. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll make notes about it. But ultimately, it's a moving target that we're trying to hit, and we have to be ready to move with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So let me get our slide up here.
Yep. We'll kind of wrap it up. And so just to kind of take it through it quickly here, guys, kind of what we talked about. First thing first is we talk about that connection to your money. Calculate your annual expenses, know what you're spending, know what you're going to want to spend, what you might need, at least get an idea what that looks like for you as you head into retirement for this question. Second is don't forget to factor in inflation into your plan. I think this is one of the, as I talked about, biggest things that fly under the radar. People don't think about it, that everything gets more expensive, but if your money doesn't get more money. So, we kind of have to make sure that those things are lined up and keep that in mind as we go. Just again, a part of that retirement plan. Account for all income sources. And I will throw in here, account for all accounts as well. So you got your Social Security, pensions, investments. Big thing is we talked about 401ks, old 401ks. Make sure you're rolling them when you move. And this not just all income sources, but all accounts. We have had the situation where clients have lost old 401ks and forgot about it. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, I have, 60 grand somewhere else that I just didn't know. So keep in mind everything you got, get it consolidated, make sure you're keeping tabs on where everything's at, because that all plays right into this equation. Determining your retirement number, again, general rule of thumb, take your annual expenses, multiply it by 25. Play around with that a little bit. It'll get you a number and just get the wheels spinning in your head. And then last is, like Kevin said, you got to be fluid with your plan. So whatever you start at, it's not going to stay the same most likely, and that's okay. But make sure you're working on keeping in contact with your financial advisor at least once a year, letting them know. And again, I like the way Kevin said that, hitting a moving target. So you gotta stay on your feet here and stay on your toes.
Yeah, absolutely. Whoops. Very good. So as always, if you've got questions, comments, drop them below. We've gotten some idea from other listeners of some topics they want in the future. So we're going to take those under advisement and probably add those, but we'd love to hear from you. Mm-hmm. So if there's something that you want to talk about or something we've mentioned in passing in one of our previous podcasts, you think, boy, I'd like more information on that, let us know. We can either at least tell you, hey, yeah, we've got that. It's in the works. Yep. And it's coming out at some point in time, or that's a great idea. Max and I assume we explain everything 100% perfectly and clearly.
Yeah.
Shockingly, we don't always. If there's something we say that makes 80% sense and the other 20% seems like nonsense, reach out to us. We're happy to clarify. We're happy to continue to guide and educate. I'll leave us on this, that, as you move into this next stage of life, please work with a professional.
Yeah.
We'd love it to be us. If it's not us, find somebody you know and like and trust. If your money's getting managed on your own at a Schwab or something like that, that's perfectly fine. But go pay someone to help you with the planning. Yeah. Go pay a planning fee for somebody. They don't have to get involved in the management of your money, but ultimately you can get some professional help and guidance to make sure your retirement is exactly what you want it to be. Yeah. Very good. All right, Max. Good stuff. Thank you for tuning in and listening. We've got some more we're working on. We'll get them out here shortly. But again, stay connected with us and we'll keep you updated.
Later, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.